Hello, everyone. I'm Paola Harris, and I am on with Maurizio Baiata, who was my boss and the editor of Dossier Alieni, Area 51 magazine, X Times, with whom I worked for many years. And this is part 5 of a 5-part series that we're doing together because I consider Maurizio perhaps one of the best researchers on the planet in this area. And he is willing to share with us his experiences with the top level people in ufology. And so this is the 5th of a 5-part series. We did Colonel Corso, we've done Michael Wolff, we've done the alien autopsy, we've done other subject matter, which is so important because I think the European view should be included in the overall study of UFOs. So Maurizio, welcome. Ciao, come stai?
Hey, I'm fine. How are you there? Ciao, everybody.
Okay. Maurizio is coming to us from Rome, and I let him choose the last part of this series, and he chose Sergeant Major Robert O'Dean as the focus because both of us knew him and loved him. He came to Italy a great many times. Maurizio, just when we had the Colonel Corso conference in Pescara, Il Contatto, you invited Robert Dean. What do you remember about him on that particular conference that you sponsored?
Well, first of all, you're right when you're saying that we all love Bob Dean. And I have to confess that if ever I was not sexually oriented, such as I am, I will marry that guy. For sure. I will propose myself as being his servant for my entire life. He was so great. He was so gentle, so nice, so outspoken, and so profoundly connected to everybody that you cannot miss him, you know. And it's too bad that, in fact, only, let's say that we spent together, what? Well, 3 times in Italy together, maybe 4 times in Italy together. And I believe the last time we saw each other was, oh no, I'm pretty sure, was in Ahwatukee, Phoenix, Arizona. Ahwatukee is a small neighborhood of Phoenix, because I was leaving Phoenix for good. And I was in a deep, deep troubled situation. And Bob helped me out a lot, not only as a friend, but also as a person who really wanted to help me also economically. Believe me, he was able to go to his wallet and tell me, Maurizio, you are in troubles. Here you go. You're gonna stay over Phoenix for about a week or so. This is plenty of money for you to resist here, and then you're by yourself, okay? And that was the last time I saw him.
Oh, he was amazing. That's, he was a guest in my house at Ponte Milvio when I had the apartment there. I've known Bob with 2 different marriages, Cecilia and Marcia. And they were guests at my apartment also at Viale degli Ammirali near the Vatican. So I was, emotionally and personally involved with Robert Dean all the time. And I have this photo that I took anticipating, when I was in Italy in 2007 when I left, anticipating his death. And I took a picture of a cane, his tweed jacket, and his hat. And it was sitting on one of my, one of my furniture in the living room. And I said, let me just take that, because he always had that with him. And so I have that photo. I was devastated when he died, like everybody else. And we knew him personally. And of course, he was a guest at my home, so I knew him personally too.
You remember, Paula, how many times we were talking on the phone, speaking on the phone, and saying how, if since Bob is so beloved here in Italy, they're requesting him, they want him here, and that was impossible. In fact, because in the last 5 or 6 years, his health was decaying quickly. Therefore, no way that we can see him again. But every time he came to Italy, he was to make a point. And the point was that ufology had to, was, mm, was due to a considerable shift ahead in having a different approach on ufology, not only nuts and bolts, not only military involvement, not only a spiritual side of it, which encodes everything. No, you have to be really open-minded. And this word open mind reminds me of a meeting that we held in Phoenix, Arizona once at the premises of the office of our editorial department. And the best UFO researchers in the area were gathered all together. And he was adamant, and the clash of, let's say, two titans clashed that time over the subject of disclosure. One was Steve Bassett. Steve Bassett is, the the knight of, let's say, exopolitics, and he's always fought a lot in order to uh, make a point that only if the government will play a different game with us, it will be disclosure will be possible. Instead, Bob was a little different, So I'm saying that's why I used the word clash. He said very openly, no, 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 no. It's not a question of government, of military, or whatever. It's they taking the decision. He pointed up just there, and he said, it's up to them to decide when, how, and why to give up their, their seclusion and coming with us, together with us, and disclose themselves once and for all. So that's his point.
That's a very good point, because the disclosure is really in the hands of the extraterrestrials. If they appeared over every major airport at the same time, all over the world, that would be major disclosure. It doesn't need to come from the President of the United States, but they, for some reason, are waiting to do any kind of mass manifestation. So Maurizio, since you're passionate about honoring Robert Dean, do you want to tell us, first of all, I'm curious, why did you invite him to that conference with Colonel Philip Corso? Was it because I met him at the Sally Port Inn and he happened to be there with Corso? Why did you ask him to come? That was a historic occasion on that massive, massive conference called Il Contatto.
In Montesilvano, 1997, when we held that conference, I believe that the reason why he was invited, I mean, I was one of the organizers, but actually I was the one proposing names. I mean, because Bob Dean was so important and so seminal in disclose openly that the NATO, the shape, meaning the NATO headquarters in Brussels, Belgium, and Paris, France, where he was stationed for quite a long time, was so important in dealing with the matter of the presence of the UFOs and the aliens. They had to do something, and he was an analyst, and he was given a document, a physical document, and that he used afterwards. And this is a very important story because let's make a point. The question of secrecy, it's overwhelming. And if we receive a document, you remember what Philip Corso was used to say, no paper trail, no written documents. I mean, in the intelligence word, uh, you don't go around and I'm giving you this document and you give it to another guy. Forget it. I mean, unless it's the enemy. Maybe you will do it if it's the enemy, but if it is your friend and colleague, you're not going to do that. You swallow the document eventually. You put it in the back of your head and you don't disclose it. In this case, in fact, instead, it was so official because I believe that General Lemitzer gave him the task of dealing with different headquarters of the different allied forces in Europe, including Italy. And that's why we came to giving Bob Dean quite an important position. I mean, we decided that he was absolutely important. And the main problem is that the assessment, even even if it was a bulk like this of documents all together, um, declaring lots of interesting stuff, was reduced to mainly 2 points. How many races of aliens the NATO was in the knowledge at that moment, meaning in the half of the 60s, and what purpose they show for their visitations on Earth, because, you know, we were flooded with the so-called um, waves, you know, waves of sightings of, we call it flaps of sightings coming from um, the north of Europe and going down, down, and arriving to Great Britain, passing through Belgium. And the NATO guys were absolutely, let's say, they couldn't do anything at all about this. So they decided that they were supposed to discuss this point. And the final results of these big, huge discussions was the assessment. So that's the reason why we invited him.
And I remember